Greetings, Earthlings.
We come as friends.
Hey, this is Chef Chris and Sam Ed. We're at Old North State Winery, bringing you delicious wines every week.
Yum yum.
This is a virtual tasting for those of you that cannot make it to be here in person on our Thursday night tasting where we do 4 wines. We select 2 of those 4 to do a video, and that's what we're going to do. We're going to show you what you're missing, but actually you're not missing because you got your stuff at home. You're a good student, you're doing your homework, and tasting and drinking wines. We here are a winery, but we also believe that it's important to fully understand the wines of our winery, our region of Yadkin Valley. It's important to know the wines of everywhere. So knowing why each region is special and how they all support one another in an intricate web, if you will.
All ships rise.
Transcontinental. And of course, Chef Chris and I have been doing a lot more traveling the last 2 years to go into different wine regions to better our education, to thoroughly explain to you the things that we find. In addition to that, of course, I taste anywhere from 20 to 40 wines a week through distributors and going to different conferences or wine tastings to continually search for the goods. So I'm not going to say that I've been to all these wineries, but some I have, and certainly you can study from afar just like you're doing on this video. So Chef Chris has prepared some food, and I guess we're going to talk about that here in a minute, Chef. You know, we are a restaurant. That's what we do. We're restaurant people, but we also run a winery. And, you know, we'll talk about all of the things. We're like a homey little...
We'll catch all for all of it.
Catch-all, yeah. We're going to talk about it all. And we're on the heels of just completing a wonderful chef's table, Chef.
Oh.
That menu was phenomenal.
Nice.
We had wines from 4 different countries.
Yes, thank you.
And
yeah, I mean, what a passport on that pairing today.
And an ex-employee of your father's for 27 years came in from Mebane, North Carolina to do this, their 1-year anniversary. It was real special. And we were able to talk a lot about food and wine, and you could really see that they learned a lot.
Boy, did they.
They really opened up.
Once again, we've converted people. I don't like fish. I don't like green.
I don't like white
this,
wine.
I don't like this. And they leave loving all of it.
Yeah.
So
Wait to go.
that's always a good, that's always a good thing.
Well, you know, environment, trusting, you know, it's such a trust environment when you sit down at the chef's table. You're like, okay, I'm going to let the chef just send me food. I'm not ordering off a menu. You're relinquishing your ordering power, so to speak. And so you automatically, by nature, are going to come a little more open-minded.
A little more adventurous, for sure.
More adventurous, yeah.
But I think that once you get that first course under your belt, you're like, okay, I get it, yeah.
Oh yeah, the white asparagus with caviar. And they'd never had caviar before.
Or white asparagus.
Or white asparagus. So
or cheese from Looking Glass. Or they said they hated peas and they loved the pea emulsion.
Of course. Well, it was fun. It was just
so much fun.
We get so much enjoyment out of our job, and it's things like that make it special. So also drinking wine with you is one of those things we love to do. So we're going to start off with a beautiful white from upstate New York. Of course, this is one of the premier winemaking regions for white wines in America. I believe so. They've been doing it for a lot longer than most places. You know, when I was a kid, it was a great winemaking region. It still is today. Forge Cellars. We've done some of their wines. We do a lot of their wines at the chef's table. They are regularly rated in the top 100. One of their Rieslings will make the top 100. It seems like every year.
In the world.
Not
top 100 Rieslings.
Mm-hmm.
Top 100 wines in the world, and this happens to be a Riesling. I mean, what an accomplishment.
Yeah, and so this is a 2020, so we got some age on it. And, Riesling, if you don't know, is probably the most ageable white wine. I think it is through the fact of its acidity. It doesn't need oak to preserve it for a long period of time because the acidity takes care of that. Of course, you can oak Rieslings, it's generally with neutral oak, so it's not really going to benefit that much for the aging purposes. Of course, tannins are an aging element as well. When we talk about these, like particularly what comes to mind is Grand Reserva, Rioja, with 24 months minimum in oak, and those tannins give it a long, long life, and that's very common in red wines. So oak gives life, not just flavor. But here, Riesling has such great acidity. There's certainly cases to be made for Rieslings that are 100 years old that are still not only drinkable but thriving if you can afford it or even
find it.
Yeah.
People who have those collections, you need to befriend them.
Right.
Because they're not going to be letting go of those anytime soon.
No, and why would they, right?
Well, they might share one with you, but
you can't replicate time, and so
absolutely not.
That's a lot of patience going on there. It's really, it's like planting a tree. It's going to be a while before you get some shade.
That's exactly right.
All right, Chef. So this happens to be, we've done all kinds of their Rieslings. I want to mention that this is dry Riesling, and that's important, because this is where us in the fine dining world kind of live with Riesling, and the sweeter or demi-sec type, semi-sweet Rieslings we reserve for things like maybe foie gras or dessert, and cheeses. Of course, if you don't know, Riesling is with a little sweetness is one of the most amazing wine pairing you can come up with. Almost every single cheese goes with it. But that's not what we're talking about today. We're talking about dry white wines, because we serve a lot of dry Riesling because its versatility with food. 9 times out of 10, we don't want residual sugar in our wines at the chef's table. That does not mean there's not a place for those wines elsewhere, but for the style of food that chef creates and the course management, I guess, how we design these menus.
Great way to put it.
You need to kind of watch your sugar and save it for later on. Now,
they'll still be there. It's just going to be further down the
gradual implements of that. So, what about dry Riesling? Well, all the people that tell me I don't like Riesling. Well, it's probably because they had bottom shelf, probably sweeter than they liked anyway, Riesling. And so Forge is what I would call a specialist in dry Riesling. I mean, they might disagree with me. Certainly, if you want to call me and tell me that I'm wrong, please do. And we could do an interview, because I love Forge. It's my favorite New York winery. Chef Chris, your wife was just up in New York with her friends, hitting not only the Seneca Finger Lakes, but also went up to Ontario and caught that, which is one of my favorite wine regions that I've been to. And exploring the Northeast winemaking.
Absolutely, they had a big time, and they covered a lot of ground. I mean, they did 7 or 8 wineries in the short time they were there, and had several pairing menus. So it was great. They had a big old time. It's great to see them explore the old U.S. of A, the Northeast wine scene, which is gets far less accolades. So it's good to see that.
I would love to hit Long Island too. That's another great winemaking region. And our good friend Mark, the winemaker down at Childress, he ran a winery there for 18 years, and he's worked all over the world, including Bordeaux, New Zealand, Argentina. Just it goes on and on. But Long Island was where he had his really long stretch leading up to Childress, which has now also been a very long stretch. But that's a serious winemaking region. But we're talking about the Finger Lakes. I want to talk about this flavor profile, Chef. Is there anything nose-wise you want to talk about?
Well, I am shocked at how tropical this is. That's the first thing that gets me. And the pineapple, the nectarine. It's not what I was expecting. This is such a giant Riesling.
Yes.
And,
it is massive.
Massive. And it drinks so above its varietal.
It's a beast.
And I get it. I mean, he gets this level of fruit extraction and complexity. This is remarkable.
Look at the tears, how slow they're going.
Slow, and the color.
It says it's 13%, but I swear it's drinking. It just looks and feels like it's hotter. Of course, acidity and alcohol can sometimes, like when you feel the alcohol, sometimes acidity packed with that will make it feel like it's more alcohol because the acidity's there. This one has tons of spice, like ginger spice. Really, really dry. And I want to make note that now that it's 2020, now it's 2023, so like 2.5 years since it was picked, or 2 3/4, whatever. But there is some bottle aging going on. Now, in Rieslings, they're probably of any wine, they're most noted for the most change in a bottle.
In a bottle, not...
Viognier probably a close second, but Riesling is really noted for what happens in the bottle. The wines change a lot in the bottle, more so than any other varietal. And I'm starting to pick up those notes on the nose here. That's a little bit of that, kind of starting to develop some kind of little bit of rubber, plastic kind of thing going on a little bit.
There's some flint.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And I mean, go on and on. Boy, the weight of this is perfect. Yeah, normally it can, tropical big time. Normally Rieslings can be a little light. What's the word? They dissipate quickly.
Sure.
Not this.
Yeah.
Long, lingering finish. The flavors build. Yes. It coats.
Yeah.
Delicious.
So this is a big white wine. So those of you that like your red wines should be able to appreciate this wine for its boldness. That it's basically, they always say that red wine drinkers, when they go to white, it's usually Chardonnay because it's big. They're used to
buttery,
having big flavors from red wine, so they don't typically go to leaner whites because it's too far off of their comfort zone. So this was something that certainly doesn't taste like red wine, but it's big.
Yeah.
And it is delicious. And the Forge continues to, I consider, totally over-deliver for their price points.
No two ways about it. Completely over-delivers. No two ways about it.
Well, Chef, now it's up to you to decide. What are you going to serve?
Well, I mean, I tell you what, I'm not going to serve what I thought I was going to serve.
I just got a beautiful hint of like candied lemon.
I completely get that. I'm even getting a little lime now.
Yeah.
On the.
But it just struck me like a ton of bricks.
There
was so much tropical in the beginning, and now I'm getting these layers, these deeper layers.
But the candy on that for sure. So when you told me Riesling, I was going to do a cheese. I got this beautiful Spanish sheep's milk cheese soft that I wanted to do with. I think this would run that right over, don't you? Or maybe I could do two things with it. We do the cheese and another. I'm thinking maybe some salmon. With the fatty for the tropical.
Definitely.
With that, maybe some of that kohlrabi relish.
Sure.
Yeah.
Definitely. Oh, and I forgot to mention, this is small production. Forge has lots of single vineyard offerings. There was only about 700 cases of this made. Very small area.
Crazy.
And that's the beauty of having a winery that's kind of been around for a very long time. They know how to break down their properties and to carve out certain flavor profiles. Instead of just having 200 acres of, we make Riesling, it comes from all over those 200 acres, they start noticing that there's different flavor profiles in the northeast corner. So let's cut that off and make a wine just from that, and it'll have a totally different flavor profile than maybe the southeast vineyards. So there's Forge is really good at that. They have so many different offerings, and they're all delicious, and they do taste different. They all taste like Riesling, but they taste different.
Shea Vineyards in William and Carlton was really good at that. And they had this huge massive property, and it was broken down into 121 lots.
Wow.
And rows, and it was just the complexity of that, the work that goes into it. Same thing.
Yeah, and it takes years and vintages rather, vintages after vintage after vintage to be able to, decide, which grapes need to be in this lot or in this row.
Yeah, and the work that goes into it, because you have to. You're basically, even if you end up blending it, you're making all those individual wines.
Mm-hmm.
You're not field picking. You're not. I mean, you're keeping track of all that, and just to understand all the years and time to get all those individual expressions.
Mm-hmm.
Impressive.
Yeah, agreed.
Delicious.
Well, we're talking about, a serious wine. It's a wine that belongs in any serious wine drinker's portfolio. Great presentation. I've always loved their simple labels, but it's what this shows me? Working folks.
Yep.
They are working. They're not.
They're working the land.
Winemaking is work. It's not glamorous. It's glamorous right here in our glass. This is the glamour side, but it takes so much blood, sweat, and tears, and failures and successes.
Well, you're at the mercy, the patience, the mercy of the weather. I mean, there's only so much you can do to combat the natural elements that are always, even shape the way you shape your vineyard over the decades. It's still, you're small when it comes to rain and wind and sun and insects. So impressive. Some of the best farmers in the world are grape growers.
That's a fact. And there's plenty of disease. There's plenty of disease that attacks vines. So, some things that are considered good, like botrytis in certain areas, but not desirable in other areas.
Yeah.
It's like it just depends on what kind of wines you're making. Okay, so we're gonna go to the West Coast. We're staying in America.
Thank you.
A double American pour.
Memorial Day special.
That's right. We got Memorial Day coming up, and to honor Americans that have given their ultimate, the ultimate gift, or laid down for us as a country, we're doing a couple American wines this week, and two completely different styles, Chef. We're talking about Lodi. Now, this is called Colt. It's a Cabernet Sauvignon, and it is. What I like about this is it's exactly what I expect from Lodi. And so when I'm telling people what Lodi wines taste like, this is what I'm thinking about. There's always a huge, intense fruit nose. Usually red and black fruit. And I think that's, without a doubt, all over the nose.
All over it.
A little bit of vanilla behind it.
The baking spice, the vanilla, cocoa.
Yep.
On there,
and then that classic Lodi, like that dusty
dust. It used to be that Rutherford was known for the dust, but Lodi took their title.
Lodi is very dusty,
and it's one of the great growing areas because it is so identifiable. That's a rarity these days that you can, you can know a region that the expression is so pronounced. I love that.
So if this were the Rutherford, it would be more finesse in the actual structure, where Lodi is just almost, it's so full, it's almost jammy. I mean, I can certainly accept it if you said these wines are jammy. They're bold. They're never dainty.
Never dainty.
There's always great weight, viscosity to their wines. Almost the perception of syrup.
I was gonna say marmalade.
Yeah.
Like a big fruit blackberry marmalade.
It's almost there, but not quite. But I could see how this would remind flavor-wise of a strawberry or a blueberry preserve. But
blueberry cobbler for sure because of the baking spices.
Yeah, definitely. And this is, it checks a lot of boxes. It's a wine that packs. Well, it says 13.5, but I feel like it's more. I feel like it's more. Now, of course, Lodi, we've got we got Napa, Sonoma, and Monterey, Santa Barbara, and it kind of triangulates inland. So if you have those two areas, and then coming in here would be Lodi. So it's going way inland in terms of, comparatively speaking, to the other famous winemaking regions of that are more coastal influenced. So we're getting a lot warmer because we're getting further away from that cool Pacific, and that's why the concentration of fruit, I believe, is why the concentration of fruit.
The sun ripening, they don't get as cool at night either, so
yeah.
they're probably getting an extra hour or two
Heat.
of heat
High
that
heat,
the coastal regions aren't getting. They're already starting to cool down at 4 o'clock, and Lodi just keeps on cooking.
Yeah. Now it does get cool enough at night. No, it's certainly not cold, but it gets cool enough to retain some acidity. But that's not what really defines these wines. It's that intense fruit and dusty tannins. And you know what? I think most people have been introduced to Lodi through their Zinfandels.
Yeah.
And they have that same dustiness. But their cabs, as we are experiencing here together right now, also very, very similar to Zen. Their cabs, I feel like. If you've ever had a hard time differentiating cab and Zen, Lodi is not the place to go.
You'd be forgiven of these, that's for sure.
Lodi would not be the place to really help you with that, because I think they really do have a lot of similarities from this area. Like when we get into Napa, like Bali's, one of my favorites.
Oh yeah.
And it's distinctively Napa, and it's distinctively different from the cabs of Napa. It stands out. It's in blind tastings you wouldn't confuse it with a cab, but it's a little bit more gray in Lodi. So if you are a Zen lover,
you're going to do well here.
You're going to like their cabs, and if you're not like, there are people that aren't really huge into cabs. They're just too big or too tannic. Think about experiencing Lodi cabs, and I think you will find that if you're a Zen lover, you'll like cab from these areas.
And they're so much fun. To me, I love the Lodi profile in summer because I think they go so well with summer foods. Barbecue, pizza, which of course I put pizza on the grill. So
yeah,
but
there's toasty notes in here.
The toasted sausages, burgers, all the things you want to sell your porch and do. Lodi wines go great with those across the board.
Yeah. So with that being said, Chef, what are you planning on food-wise?
We're doing duck wings.
Duck wings?
Duck wings with this. And it's going to be great.
Duck wings?
Duck wings. Mr. Quacker wings.
Man, everybody knows I love wings.
And you love duck.
That's fact.
So, this is going to be a great confluence.
This makes me happy.
It's going to be a great confluence.
All right.
And the fatty, gamey duck with this is going to be super delicious.
Well, most duck presentations for most people have some kind of fruit element. That's a pretty common
plums, lingonberries, apricot, orange. You name it.
Yeah, duck does like fruit and chutneys, relishes. Any kind of format that you can get a fruit with a duck, it seems to work. And kind of one of the classic pairings is Merlot.
True.
With duck or Pinot Noir. What do you think about those? But duck wings are not classic by any means.
I don't think they're classic to anyone.
No, that's what I'm saying. But when I think about this, the oak influence of the vanilla baking spice is Pinot-esque. The fruit in here, I've always found Merlot to be very fruity.
Very fruity.
So this is a fruity wine. So it really is. It's an absolute. I love your idea, Chef. I think it's going to work great.
I think it's going to be fun, and like, on paper it works.
Yeah.
But we'll have some fun eating.
We should go upstairs and eat a bowl of wings.
We're going to have more fun experimenting
Yeah.
than we will with the actual thing.
Yeah. We just want to mention that we have a lot of things on the docket coming up. We have our continuing series of chef table reservations that just continue.
Yeah.
We've got another full house this Friday of chef's tables.
If
If you haven't done the chef's table, it's 5 courses with wines from around the world, high-end wines. This past weekend, people were just absolutely blown away. We've had people that come regularly, they've done it 10, 15 times, and were literally floored. And it's hard to do that.
It's hard to
Someone
floor.
They
It's
kind
hard.
of know
It
what
is.
to expect.
It is.
And these, when you leave here full and kind of rosy cheeked from all the delicious wines, it is a great experience. You end up, also making friends, with the people beside you, because you have people from all over that come for these chef tables.
From all over, and it's such a the environment lends itself to visiting, and the shorter format's a big hit. People are feeling good at the end of it. We
cut the cost down and went from 7 courses to 5 courses because people were kind of cross-eyed at the 6th course.
There's a lot.
Well, part of this came from our experimentation with doing a 5-course prefix meal.
Very popular.
People were really liking that, and they were still full. They weren't in pain.
It didn't take 3.5 hours. I think
really,
that was a big.
It really shaves off some of the time, and everybody loves to eat and drink, and they want to stretch it out. But there comes a point where, you're just overstimulated.
And
it's probably the right word.
That's a great.
And
way
because
to
you got to understand, we're having conversations like about, obviously about food and wine, but then into personal stuff, and we're.
We get all these tributaries too.
Yeah.
I mean, we get off track all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And especially on the larger tables, because you're really kind of treating it like 3, where you're kind of working the table back and forth.
Yeah. So, if you haven't experienced that, please do. Obviously, this Friday's not going to be good for you, but we are back doing on Fridays and Saturdays because our staff's doing great in the kitchen, and that means Chef Chris can come out and
they're killing it.
Yeah, and of course the lunches that we typically do on Wednesdays, but we can do them on other days. The 3-courser has been very, very popular, and that's only $100 with wine and food and all of our
Great
attention. Mm-hmm. Yep. So those are great things, Chef. We've got new wine distributors. We're starting a new retail program.
It's exciting stuff in its infancy, but to watch that bloom,
That's
fun.
coming down. It's been behind the scenes thing, something that's probably overdue, but everything happens for a reason.
Well, there's so many hours in a day, bud.
That's a
We're
fact.
good there.
Our Thursday night tastings, equate to anywhere from 80 to 120 bottles of wine every week that are going out the door. Our chef's tables, people are ordering wines from those. We do make wine. We sell a lot of that wine, but we also sell and distribute wines from around the world too. So we think that we are stewards of all wines, not just our wines at Old North State.
We're a wine place.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And it really makes a huge difference. The one-on-one time that you get to spend with so many people, learning their palates, explaining to them, all the different options and all these things. It's just a great place to come and learn and drink wine.
Yeah, and if you ever have questions about wine, that's what we're here for. We love to talk about wine. We're happy to advise you in any way, even if it's just trying to track down a wine or a style of wine that you're interested in that you haven't seen here. We were happy to track them down or showcase them here on our video, or
Absolutely.
in person on our Thursday nights, or on the shelves.
A lot of options.
Yep. Well, Chef, I think we've done it again. We're right at 30 minutes. Look at that.
We're good at this.
We don't even
try. It just organically happens.
thank God for our production team.
Thank you.
Hey, we always enjoy these videos. Please comment, etc. Share these videos. We are always tinkering and trying to improve. We'd love a little advice. So if you got anything for us, please let us know.
Send it over.
Catch you next time.
See ya. Thank you.